things you do to get the shot are almost moving your couch into the kitchen so you have space to put your tripod. I don't know if the lighting today is going to be bad, but we are literally having our first rain in Southern California since last spring, since like May or April. So I woke up this mood in a very cozy mood and I wanted to film this video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a book unhaul. I'm so excited about this video. I've been thinking about doing this for a few months now because my bookcase is starting to get pretty full and I have some books on here that I know I'm never going to read, books I did not like, that I just want to get rid of, and I'm going to donate to my public library if they have the donation space to take them. But I just wanted to introduce the vlog before I get started. I'll mostly be filming everything from like the bottom 3 shelves because everything that I have higher up is literally books that I love because I can like see them better. So I want to display them more instead of these like bottom books that are literally hidden by my couch. So I'm gonna get started filming this video because I am ready to get rid of some books. Oh my gosh, the rain is coming down so much now. I love it. I literally said last night that I forgot what rain smelled like. I have missed it so much. So I moved my tripod down some and I'm just pretty much gonna sit on the floor. I'm gonna start pulling some books and then I'll show you guys which ones I'm getting rid of. This is future Allison here. I wanted to say a disclaimer before I start going through all the books that I'm getting rid of. If you liked any of these books, it does not make them a bad book. If you're interested in reading any of these books, I would still recommend you reach for them, whether I dislike them or whether I'm not going to reach for them at all. Reading is so subjective. Things that I like that I'm keeping, you might hate. You might love these books I'm getting rid of. That is completely okay. Something that I think is so important with books is open-ended discussions about whether you like them, whether you didn't like them. So in the comments, if you don't like these books, tell me why so we can talk about it. If you loved these books and you recommend them and they're some of your all-time favorites, tell me why in the comments because it's so important to have continuous discussions about reading and just bonding as a community over books and keeping just reading alive and reading fun. So even if I didn't like these, even if I am passionate about not liking them, I would still recommend you give them a try. I would still recommend that you read the backs of the books, watch other people who have read the books, read book reviews online about them, and decide yourself if you like them. Because I am one person, I am one opinion, and my opinion is not the end all be all. So I just wanted to say that before I continue talking. I moved you guys a little closer so you could probably hear me better. But I have 2 stacks of books right here that I am considering getting rid of. There's some of them that I am like 100% I don't want these. I am getting rid of them, and some of them that I'm like I don't like, but I might want to keep them on my shelf. I'm not sure. So I'm going to create a yes, like get rid of pile, and a maybe get rid of pile. So the first one is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I did not connect with this book at all. I didn't like the main character. I felt like the characters didn't have any substance to them. I didn't understand the plot, and a reoccurring theme of my channel is that I don't like books about games, like whether it's just something like this. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. This one is like a game based off of like riddles that a grandfather is leaving for his family, and this random girl, Avery, ends up getting this letter that she is like inheriting his will, or like not his will, but like she's inheriting his things, his mansion, his money, and there's games with it. I don't know. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't connect with the characters. It is one of those books though where I read the full book, and it's just something that I might want to keep on my shelf. And there's no logic behind this at all, but there are just some books that even if I didn't like them, I might want to keep them in my book collection. So this is a maybe. Same with Legendborn by Tracy Dion, I think. I did not hate this book, but I didn't love it either. And I'm pretty sure I got through the majority of it, if not all. And it's just also one of those books where I'm like, I might want to reread this and give this a second chance because it is everything that I would like. It was such an interesting concept. It's about this girl who ends up going to UNC Chapel Hill, and she gets involved in the magical world at her college, and it was fun while reading it. I can't even remember what it was that just made me be like, no, I don't like it. It might have been something to do with the romance aspect of it. I do kind of remember that, but I'm going to put this in my maybe pile as well for right now. Same with Kingdom of the Wicked, but I did not like this. I ended up DNFing it like halfway through. I just found it so boring. Like the main character, I just found it so boring. And I didn't like the whole aspect of her sister being stolen and her trying to find her sister, and just the motivations behind it didn't make sense. So I think I'm actually going to get rid of this one because I will not be picking this up like ever. And then The Good Part by Sophie Cousins. I was obsessed with the concept of this book. So it's about a girl, Lucy Young. She's 26 and tired. She's tired of fetching coffees for senior TV producers, sick of going on disastrous dates, and done with living in a damp flat with roommates who never buy toilet paper. After another disappointing date, Lucy stumbles upon a wishing machine. Pushing a coin into the slot, Lucy closes her eyes and wishes with all her might, "Please let me skip to the good part of her life." So she wakes up, and she's married, and she has a kid, and she has this wonderful career. But the way it was told and the way that she responded to it happening was not what I expected, and it just completely ruined the story for me. I loved this concept because I also found this book after I read The 7-Year Slip, and they're both kind of like similar time warping romance novels. And I just love the concept, but the delivery was just not what I wanted it to be, and I did not like this book. I then have, I'm going to definitely donate this one. I then have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I read this, I want to say 2 years ago now, and I'm not kidding you, I kept it because of how floppy it was. It just, like, reading it just... I loved how it felt while reading it, like in my hands. It was just so perfectly floppy. I don't like Shakespeare, and a lot of people who read this book say like the Shakespeare aspect is not a big aspect in the book. I agree to disagree. It wasn't a big aspect in the book, and I agree that you probably don't need to know Shakespeare to read this, but I don't like Shakespeare like at all. It's not that I don't like it, it's that when I read it in high school, I didn't understand it. I did not enjoy this book, so I'm gonna finally let go of this book. I don't need it. You cannot judge me on this one. I found it at a thrift store. It was an impulse buy. I never read it, and I'm never going to read it. It's being donated. That's all I'm gonna say. I then have a very popular series that I know people are probably going to be like, oh my god, you're not going to be reading that. How could you? I've given it so many shots in my reading journey. I've given it so many shots, I promise you. And just because I'm not going to read it or I don't like any of these books doesn't mean that they aren't good books. But it's Shatter Me. And I bought this at the thrift store as well. And it has sat on my bookcase for a year. And even in middle school, I wanted to try reading this so bad. And I couldn't get into it in middle school. I can't get into it now. I am letting this go. I'm waving the white flag and just deciding that I can't do it. And if I one day decide, hey, I want to give this a shot, I'm just going to download it from Libby, or I'm going to get it from my local library, but I have no need for it to be taking up space anymore. I don't like it. I also found this book at a thrift store, and if you can see like a common theme with this, a lot of these books are going to be books that I got from the thrift store because they sell books for really cheap, and I get in the mood to just grab, and I put them on my shelves on my TBR, and I'm like, I don't want to read this. I don't want to read this. Why did I buy this? And then they sit on my shelf for like a year. I'm never in the mood to read them, and I'm not gonna do that anymore. I've discovered that I am more of a person that likes to go to a bookstore, go to Target, whatever, and buy one book at a time because I'm in the mood to read that book. And then I'm just not buying all these books that I'm not going to read because I am not in the mood to read them anymore. You know? Does that make sense? But Normal People by Sally Rooney. I know this is such a favorite book, and I tried so hard. I got halfway through it, and I just did not like those characters, y'all. I did not like them, so waving the white flag on this one, I'm not going to read it. I have had Note on Your Sudden Disappearance for 3 years on my bookcase, I want to say. 2.5, 3 years. It's written in the second person, and I've tried, or at least the beginning is written in the second person. I'm trying to, yeah. There's a lot of like you said stuff. I can't do it. I did not like that. I could not get into it. And I've had this on my bookcase since I've lived in Bowling Green 3 years ago. So it's time for it to go. It's time for somebody else to find it and love it, because I'm probably not. I then have an Ellen Hildebrand book, Winter Street, and I bought this from the thrift store as well. I love Ellen Hildebrand. I've just had this on my bookcase for a year to a year and a half now. I don't think I'm ever gonna pick this up. It's just, I just don't think I will. And I'll get it from my library, like on Libby or something, if it's Christmas time and I want to read a winter themed book. I've also had this book since I have lived in Bowling Green, Before We Were Strangers, and by Renee Carlino. I've discovered, what is the book called? Love and Other Words by, is it Christina Lauren? I can't read the author's name. I discovered that I do not like second chance romance books at all. There is always something that has happened within the relationship where I am just like, this is not forgivable. What are you doing? This is a second chance romance book. I have gravitated towards it a few times and just always pick up something else instead of this. And I've had it on my bookcase for so long. I had it when I lived in Bowling Green. I moved with it to Lexington when I lived in Lexington for a month. And then I moved with it all the way to California and I've not picked it up. So I'm getting rid of that. We're going back to Two More Maybes. I have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I did not like this book. Didn't like this book. Like at all. I DNF'd this book. I found Rowan insufferable and I found Zahara just pretty annoying. You know what? I'm getting rid of this because a part of me is like, I feel like I want the fine print on my bookcase because it's just one of those like collection things. I don't even like how it looks on my bookcase. I'm not keeping it. I also have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And this one is also one that I know is going to be a little bit controversial because so many people love it. I wanted to love it so badly, and I also wanted to love the Legendary series really badly too. I mean, I was so excited for it. I went on Blackwell's and got the UK paperback edition. It was the vampires for me, guys. It was those vampires for me, but it's such a pretty book. I'm not sure if I'm ready to get rid of it yet, so I'm going to put it in my maybe pile. I also have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is something that I saw some booktubers that I really like watching. They loved it. So I picked it up from the thrift store. I don't think I will ever pick it up. I forget that it's on my shelf. I don't even know what it's really about. So I'm just going to donate this so that somebody else can love it instead of me. And then The First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I bought this for my book club and I hated this book. I hated it. I can't tell you what it, no, I could tell you what it's about, but it wouldn't make sense because to me none of it made sense. It's just about this girl who's has a dual life and an identity, and she's living this like fake life with this guy, and this guy is also living a fake life, and then out of all of these books, this book makes me so angry. I disliked it that much. So we're just moving on from it because it was not my cup of tea, but I also don't think mystery thrillers are really my cup of tea at all. I don't gravitate towards them. In my personal opinion, I don't think they're books that you can really read a second time because the whole appeal of them is kind of the thriller suspense aspect. So unless you go a length of time and forget what happened, I feel like that's when you could reread them. But I don't ever find them interesting enough to actually enjoy and read. And then I have a book of the month book, Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is also just one of those favorite books. I've had this again for 3 years, moved with it 3 different times, never picked it up. I'm probably never going to read this, and if I want to read it, I'll get it from the library. And then I have My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I really don't think I'm ever going to read this book either, with it being on my shelf, so it's gotta go. I have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I read this for book club. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad. It's definitely kind of one of those like beginner getting in the thriller mystery genre kind of vibes. I'm not in that genre, so I genuinely don't know if that's like a good recommendation. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and I just have no interest in keeping it on my shelf. And then I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with this. And I don't even know if I really want to get rid of them, but you might have seen me pull them from my shelf already, and you might have been like, what is she doing? Yeah. I didn't hate Fourth Wing. I liked it. It was good. There were some aspects of the writing between the characters that I was just like, ooh, that was cheesy enough for me to like dock it stars. It just wasn't. I've read better fantasy in my opinion than this. Like, to me, it was better fantasy than this. But I just didn't like it that much. And then I was excited when Iron Flame came out, but I was reading, I don't even remember what I was reading when this came out, that I was just invested in enough to be like, I'm not reading this yet. But TikTok literally spoiled the ending of this for me. And since then, I have just never reached for it because like that is just so frustrating that that happened. And I also just don't like the writing enough for me to reach for it. And that's what sucks. I love the concept. I love the Dragon Writing Academy. Like, it was such an interesting concept. I just don't really like Rebecca Yarros's writing. It's super digestible. It's really easy to read. It's really fast. And it's one of those books where if you want to get into fantasy, read that. I mean, I will always say read ACOTAR first. So I would always recommend ACOTAR before I would recommend the Fourth Wing series to get you into fantasy. But this is just, it's one of those books where I've read fantasy enough. I think everything that was in it, I was like, I've kind of read this before. So that's another reason why I think I just lost interest. I also just really don't like the writing. So I'm keeping those in my maybe pile. I'm honestly probably not going to get rid of them. It's one of those things where I kind of just want them in my collection. And hopefully eventually I will gravitate towards it. There's just been so many books that I would like to read instead. So we are done with the pile. I do have my pile of books I'm going to get rid of. Oh my goodness, it's gonna fall back on me. I'm gonna count them really quick, see how many this actually is that I'm for sure getting rid of. 15 books. That's more than I thought I would get rid of. But I'm going to take these to my local library probably and see if they're taking donations right now and be like, hey, take these books. I don't want them anymore. I also wanted to show you guys a quick overview of my bookshelf tour of everything I kept. Okay, so I have 2 bags here that I'm going to fill up with my books and take them over to my public library. Oh good, they fit in just one bag. A bag full of books. So I wanted to go ahead and end today's video. I really appreciate that you guys watched. Like I said numerous times throughout the video, I would really appreciate if you guys would leave in the comments why you loved these books, why you didn't love these books, so we can continue having conversations about reading and keep them open-ended. And like I said, I am one person with one opinion, and my opinion is not the tried and true opinion. I am just a girl who really loves reading and loves having opinions on reading, and it's so important to share all of our opinions and just keep reading alive and fun. But I'm gonna take these to my library and That's another thing, you guys. Support your local libraries. It is so important. They provide so many resources to communities. And you can make money donations, you can volunteer your time there, or even something like donating your books is a great way to help support your library. Get a library card, use it. You don't always have to buy and collect a ton of books to enjoy reading. You can utilize the resources around you, whether you spend money or not. But support your local libraries as well. It is so important. But I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to hop off here. I will see you guys in my next video. I'm just trying to get a thumbnail. What?
I have books.
There are 15 books I'm getting rid of. Yeah.